Hello, everybody, and welcome to Money Matters. Today, we're going to look at Bitcoin and see if the rocket is really taking off for the moon. As always, this is not financial advice. If you need financial advice, please seek out the help of an accredited financial advisor. It's been a while, folks. Okay, let's see. Is Bitcoin really off to the races? Well, you can look at the charts today and you could say, I think it is. But is it really? Given all the online data, all the charts, all the people on YouTube, Willy Woo, a lot of folks, we are off to the races. Apparently, things have settled out. The ups and downs, the accumulation phase is over. We've had some dips and hips here and there, but all sources indicate that Bitcoin is marching on the way up. Some predict up to 72,000 within just a few weeks or by the end of October. Whether we see that, I'm not really sure. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of talk around now is, and I'm sure that you've heard it, is that this bull cycle or this cycle is a bit different. Well, why is it? Oh, because of institutional buyers, blah, 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 blah. Well, is it true? Is that really what's happening? We're gonna look at this video and we're gonna find out. So as you look at the predictions for Bitcoin coming up, we're again seeing things from the all-time high, which is around 64,000 or 72,000, something like that, going all the way up past 500,000. Crazy numbers, which I hope it does, because I would be very, very happy if it did that. And I'm sure a lot of people would. But let's take a closer look and let's see what's driving this price. If it's not this traditional historical halving, the year after a halving event that drives up the price of Bitcoin, well, what is doing it? We need to find out. So let's take a look at institutional buyers, because the word is that institutional buyers are making this cycle different. Is it? Well, I don't know. The fact of the matter is there are very few gateways or segues to buy Bitcoin for institutions. They can, like Michael Saylor, he can bring Bitcoin onto his books in very creative ways and basically change the dynamics of the financial dynamics of his company, not only for himself, but provide a proxy for other companies. So in other words, a fund like an ARK investment fund can go in and buy MicroStrategy stock, and via the fact that they own so much Bitcoin, the price of the stock starts to become pegged to the price of Bitcoin. So they're actually investing in Bitcoin around the traditional investment and going through somebody who's already invested in Bitcoin. The other way is through the Grayscale GBTC fund. That is a fund, it's not an ETF, that you can buy with your retirement account. Like I have a 401k, a Roth IRA, and I can buy, not with the 401k, I'm sorry, an IRA and a Roth IRA, that I can buy Bitcoin through this GBTC fund. So you buy it for like $38, and as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the price goes up as well. Now, there's also talk that sometime towards the end of October or sometime in the fourth quarter, that the United States is going to grant permission for an ETF. And the facts probably point closer to Grayscale is getting this first ETF, if not three at the same time, due to the fact they have about 650,000 Bitcoin. So they are, I think, the second largest holder of Bitcoin after Satoshi. Once it turns into an ETF, or once this fund is rolled into an ETF, it'll be a one-to-one peg. It'll be matched with the price of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up, Grayscale will go up and go down. So it'll be just like owning Bitcoin, but not really. It's always better to own the pristine asset. You can self-custody that in a hard wallet. You'll be able to do things in the future that you will want to be able to do that you won't be able to do with something like GBTC. So, but for the time being, it's the best way to get exposure to crypto with a retirement account, if you don't have a crypto retirement account available for you. As you can see, I took a snippet of the top holders of or institutional investors in GBTC, and you can see they have been putting a ton of money into GBTC. ARK Investment, Kathy Wood, she's bullish on Bitcoin. She's talked about it over time. Kinetics, I'm not really familiar with their company, but I do know that it's another investment company, not like BlackRock, but a bit smaller. They've been putting money into it as well. So this is just a few. The list was pretty long, and this does not count institutional investors such as El Salvador or other governments or municipalities or things like that. But all of those constitute institutional money, and the amount of money coming into Bitcoin is truly a lot. One of the things we want to look at here is this giant red arrow. It's looking at this orange line, which is the supply of Bitcoin on all exchanges. Check out this massive drop. What does that mean? That means the number of Bitcoin that are available for purchase on exchanges is rapidly declining. What's happening to it? Well, people are taking their Bitcoin and putting it in cold storage. Institutions don't want to just hold their Bitcoin on an exchange. Why? Because they're not selling it. They're going to keep it forever. They're never going to sell it. If you think they are, you're crazy. Because why would you sell an asset that appreciates an average of at least 30%? Why would you? It's ridiculous. So the supply is growing shorter. In fact, in all actuality, at any given time, you have somewhere between 900,000 and 2 million Bitcoin available for trade on all of the exchanges around the world. That's not a lot. So let's take a little deeper dive. What is causing the price to actually go up with this institutional buying? Well, it's simple economics, supply and demand. In fact, it's the first tenet of economics. When there's a high demand, lots of institutional buyers, lots of retail buyers, and the supply is fairly low, well, we're looking at less than 2 million Bitcoin, the price is going to do what? It's going to go up right here. That's right, folks. Supply goes down, demand goes up, the price goes higher. It's just a fact. That's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the very beginning, and we can look at that. So if you take this adoption curve, and adoption is the second part of this equation, you have institutional buyers and you have adoption ramping up. When I say ramping up, this is a ramp right here. And we are just in this very beginning section of institutional adoption. If you drop down to the adoption curve, you can see in this pink area, where have we been for the last 12 years? This is innovators. These are the crazy people that think, Bitcoin is going to $1 million, and they've been buying Bitcoin ever since it was a penny. And now we're starting to creep up onto the adoption curve and into the early adopter phase. Look, folks, we're part of 2.5% of the people who actually know what Bitcoin is and have actually spent our money to invest in it. There's not a lot of people that have been doing that. As you can see, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards, as we go up on the curve, the demand is going to increase exponentially. The problem is what's happened to the supply of Bitcoin from this point. Is it going up with the demand? Oh, no. It's going way, way down. So what does that do to the price? Up, way up. So not only is it effective institutional buyers, it's the over global effect of adoption of Bitcoin by everybody, not just governments, but retail investors as well. Remember, as the supply goes down, the demand goes up, the price skyrockets. The other thing to think of is that when you look at the amount of Bitcoin that's going to be available later on the curve, it's not going to be whole Bitcoin. If it is, it's going to be $1 million. Some people are predicting $12 million for a single Bitcoin. Most people won't be able to afford it. And not only that, they may not ever find anybody who's willing to sell one. They'd have to accumulate it by buying Satoshis, which is the divisible amount that people talk about Bitcoin in. So folks up here are going to be investing in Bitcoin, but one Satoshi may be $100,000. Who knows? So it's really good to be in the pink right now. But as you can see, we're getting ready to pop out of the pink just because of institutional investors. So let's summarize all of this. This bull cycle is different. In fact, I'm not sure that we're ever going to be able to refer to a bull cycle again. I think things are going to start to plateau out over the next 4 years. There's never going to be these big giant 80% drops in Bitcoin. There may be in altcoins, but not in Bitcoin. Altcoins are going to become less and less and less a part of the ecosystem with respect to investing. And I'm talking about big gains like Solana's 4,000% gain over the year, things like that. they'll start to diminish along with Bitcoin's fluctuation as well. I'm not saying the price isn't going to keep skyrocketing, but the fluctuation up and down, the percentages are going to be much, much lower. I mean, we're dealing with 30% jumps and drops all the time anyway, so it's not going to be, anything too crazy or something new to get used to. We're in the early adoption phase. Let's look at a couple of facts. Institutional investors have started to buy Bitcoin, and they're buying a lot of it. And what are they doing with it? Cold storage. They're taking it out of circulation. You cannot get your hands on it, nor will you be able to in the future. The amount of Bitcoin on the exchanges is dwindling. It is starting to drop. We looked at a chart from Glassnode that showed that it's dropping. I think it's going to start dropping faster and faster. There will be, in my opinion, a lot of people who take profits like at 100,000 or 150,000, those that came in at like $1,000 or something. But the painful surprise to them is that they're going to be expecting a big drop in Bitcoin, as it usually is done in the past, so they can jump back in and do it all over again. But that's not going to happen. It's going to drop 30% from 150, and you're not going to be able to get in at those prices that you thought you were going to be able to get in at. And remember, there's a finite amount of Bitcoin. We're actually dealing with less than 14 million approximately, because of folks who have lost their Bitcoin. So the actual amount of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin that has yet to be mined, the actual Bitcoin that truly is available is small. It's a very scarce asset. And as we've seen before, we're looking at clearly less than 2 million Bitcoin that we're dealing with on a daily basis available on the exchanges for trade. So the further we move out in the adoption curve, the higher the demand will come. The more institutions that jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon, the higher the demand. As both of the above take place, supply will drop, it's being bought up and thrown in cold storage, and the price of Bitcoin will start to rise faster and faster and higher and higher. It's a fact, people. It is going to happen, and it is happening way faster than I ever thought it would. So buckle your seatbelt and get some Bitcoin, because we're in for a bumpy ride. And last but not least, winners never quit, and quitters never win. Always give your very best effort to overcome the challenges that you face in life. I hope you had a great day. I had a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.